am I correct that you are one of the official proponents of Proposition 8?
Yes.
Okay, and how did you come to be an official proponent of Proposition 8?
I was invited by protectmarriage.com.
I am going to show you a document. I'll ask the court reporter to mark this as TAM Exhibit 1. And can you tell me what this is?
This is, let's see, well, just as it said here, declaration of Hack-Shin William Tam in support of proposed intervener's motion to intervene.
And on the last page of this document, is that your signature?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And you read this document before you signed it?
Yes.
Okay. And it's true and correct and accurate as far as you know?
Yes.
Paragraph 27 says, as an official proponent, I invested substantial time, effort, reputation, and personal resources in campaigning for Proposition 8. For example, I dedicated the majority of my working hours between January 2008 and November 2008 toward qualifying Proposition 8 for the ballot and campaigning for its enactment. I organized several rallies in support of Proposition 8, parentheses, which were attended by thousands of voters, close parentheses, coordinated volunteers from the Asian American community, and raised thousands of dollars for the Proposition 8 campaign. You see that where I've read that into the record?
Yes.
Okay, and is that true and accurate to the best of your understanding?
Yeah.
Okay. Are there any other people who you're aware of who are associated with ProtectMarriage.com during the time period that we're talking about, January to November 2008, who you communicated with in connection with the Proposition 8 activities?
I communicated with Ron Prentice, also Andrew Punil, and Schubert Flynn.
Well, let me ask you another question about paragraph 27, Dr. Tam. The last sentence of that paragraph says, I organized several rallies in support of Proposition 8, which were attended by thousands of voters, coordinated volunteers from the Asian American community, and raised thousands of dollars for the Proposition 8 campaign. The first part of that sentence, I organized several rallies in support of Proposition 8, which were attended by thousands of voters. Were those public rallies?
Yes.
Okay, and they were advertised by what, flyers, or how did you attract people to those rallies?
We noticed the churches not open invitation.
So you sent notice. You basically handed out notices of the rallies at the different churches and said, we're going to
Yes.
have a rally at such and such a time and such a place.
Yes.
What were the venues for those? Were they public venues?
Yeah.
Can you tell me what the venues were?
One is in Chinatown. There's a square there in Chinatown.
Okay.
So another one is Cupertino's Memorial Park.
Okay.
And then there is one down in, that one I helped, but not, I haven't gone there because of my time. That is in front of the LA City Hall.
Okay. And were those the 3 different rallies that you can think of now that you were involved in? Yes. Who participated in those rallies? Who were the speakers at those rallies that you've just identified?
Oh, let's see. Some pastors.
Okay. Can you think of any of their names?
Can I?
You can answer. Yeah, this is public.
Okay. The Chinatown one, we had Reverend Hanson Lowe, Reverend Paul Chow, Reverend Peter Ng, the rest I don't quite remember. Oh, Reverend Ruth Gall. Yeah.
Okay.
And then the one on the Cupertino, in Cupertino, we had Ron Prentice, we had Tony Perkins, Reverend Thomas Wang, and a Korean pastor, I forgot his name. That's about it.
Did you also speak at those rallies?
No,
How about the one in LA that you mentioned?
the one in LA, Ron Prentice spoke. And then I think David Kai, Reverend David Kai. I don't know about the rest because I was not able to go down there. So, but I know these two persons spoke.
Okay. And when you say that these rallies were attended by thousands of voters, was that thousands of voters at each rally or thousands of voters in the aggregate for those three?
Aggregate.
Okay. And when you say thousands, can you be more specific?
Let's see, it should be a total of, let's see, maybe 6,000 people.
Now, did you also engage in sort of writing for the Prop 8 campaign? In other words, did you yourself write articles, newsletters, anything like that that you sent out to people, to potential voters in support of the Prop 8 campaign?
Yes.
Okay. And can you put a ballpark number on how much, how many such writings you authored during the Prop 8 campaign?
I think about 5.
And can you tell me where those were published and what sort of medium did you use to publish those articles or newsletters or whatever they were?
Again, Dr. Tam, I'm going to direct you to non-answer to the extent that any of this writing that you are potentially referring to was to private groups or not to the voters in general, but to the extent that you had any writings that were, for example, sent to the media or published in the papers, you certainly feel free to answer.
Mm-hmm. I had one paper sent to the Chinese newspaper.
Which newspaper?
Ming Pao.
Is that a local San Francisco Chinese language paper?
Right.
Any others?
MINGPAO.
Can you think of any other?
The others are private.
Are they church-type groups or?
Yeah.
Okay. Ask the court to mark as TAM Exhibit 3, this document. Dr. Tam, if you take a moment to read that document. And while Dr. Tam's reading it, I'll just describe it for the record. It's a printout of a web page. The address is at the bottom there. And at the top it says, "What if we lose?" And it says it's Presence Ministry is the icon at the top. Let me know after.
Yes, so what's your question?
Have you seen this document before, Dr. Tam?
Yes.
Okay, and did you write this letter that's here on this page?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Do you remember about when you wrote this?
Should be sometime before the last election.
Okay, but you remember writing it at some point during the Prop 8 campaign?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And let me just read the first paragraph into the record here. It says, "Dear friends, this November, San Francisco voters will vote on a ballot to, quote, legalize prostitution, end quote. This is put forth by the SF city government, which is under the rule of homosexuals. They lose no time in pushing the gay agenda, dash. After legalizing same-sex marriage, they want to legalize prostitution. What will be next? On their agenda list is, legalizing having sex with children." And that's the first paragraph. Did you write that paragraph?
I believe so, yeah.
But let me ask you more generally, does the phrase "the gay agenda" or "gay agenda" mean something to you?
Yes.
And what does it mean to you?
If you Google these two terms, you'll find out. It's in the internet.
I'm sorry, what is in the internet? The meaning
The
of that
gay
phrase?
agenda.
Okay. Well, can you tell me what your understanding of that phrase is?
Can I answer that?
Yes.
Okay. Well, there are several different websites describing the gay agenda. What I read is that there was a meeting back in 1972, I believe, in Chicago, composed of gay leaders. They set out the platforms of their movement. So that's where I read it.
Okay, and is it your understanding that part of the gay agenda is legalizing underage sex?
Right.
So you understand that to be part of the gay agenda?
That's what I read from that.
Okay, and do you believe that to be true?
I'm going to instruct you not to answer
I'm
that.
not going to answer that.
What is the basis for your not answering that question?
Again, the basis is First Amendment. I think you're asking him about his personal, private beliefs. And again, I think both based on the First Amendment and Judge Walker's orders, it's not relevant.
And what is your role with the Traditional Family Coalition?
I'm the executive director.
Did the Traditional Family Coalition urge people to vote for Proposition 8?
We have some memberships in the organization. So I encourage them to vote yes on Prop 8.
Dr. Tam, if you please read that document, and while you're reading it, I'm going to just identify it for the record. This is another printout from another web page. The title at the top says, "A Message from Bill Tam, parens, Sharon, S-H-A-R-O-N, Chinese Baptist Church of San Francisco," close quote. There's a web address at the bottom. Let me know when you've finished looking at that document, Dr. Tam.
Okay, I'm done.
Did you write this letter that's here on this document, Exhibit 4?
Yes,
Okay. And are you familiar with Sharon Chinese Baptist Church?
yes,
Okay. Is that a church here in San Francisco?
yes.
And to whom did you write this letter that's here on Exhibit 4?
I'm going to object to the extent that this was not a public communication. If it
Right.
was, then you can respond. If not, I'm going to instruct you not to answer.
It's not a public writing.
Okay. And again, I just point out for the record that this is a document that's available on the internet. And so it's sort of the definition of public as far as I can tell. I'm not going to read the whole document, but I do want to read a couple pieces of this. The second paragraph here says, on the other hand, in spite of hundreds of complaints and emails from Asian speakers and parents, the Alameda School Board passed 3-2 to introduce a gay, lesbian, bisexual, and transgender program to K-5 children in Alameda schools. Education such as this is used to brainwash children so that one day they'll vote for same-sex marriage. Do you see that there?
Yes,
And did you write that?
yes.
And do you believe that to be accurate?
I'm going to object. The document speaks for itself.
No answer.
Okay. The fourth paragraph down, I'm going to read it into the record. It says, "I was told by Ron Prentice that the hearing on the lawsuit against Prop 8 by the gays at the federal district court will start in August. Given the California Supreme Court ruling, their chance of winning at the federal level is pretty slim." Do you see where I read there?
Yes,
And you wrote that?
yes.
The next paragraph says, I'll read it into the record, "I'd like to ask you to talk to your church pastor about educating your church youths on the issue of SSM." Does SSM mean same-sex marriage?
Yes,
I suggest the church, again, I'm reading into the record, "I suggest the church to teach youths about the issues of sex, marriage, and family as a package. SSM can be part of the curriculum. We must give them the proper biblical values so that they are immune to the teachings from the public schools. This is our biggest battlefield, our next generation. It's a battle of the mind. Satan is working on our youths. If we and our churches don't do our part, we'll certainly lose our kids. They'll one day surrender to Satan. everything we do in building Prop 8 would be given up by the next generation. If you would like me to speak to your pastor about this, let me know. You see where I've read that there?
Yes,
And you wrote that?
yes,
And do you believe that to be true?
Objection? I'm going
No
to instruct you
answer.
not to answer.
no answer.
Did you, during the Proposition 8 campaign, did you take part in any, do you remember taking part in any public debates regarding Proposition 8?
Yes,
Okay, and can you think of about how many times that happened? How many such debates you took part in?
I can quote 3 right away.
Okay, and tell me about those 3.
One time, maybe even 4. One time, 2 times on the radio. One time with New Media America or something. That was televised. Yeah, maybe that's about it.
So-
3 times.
So 3 times, twice on the radio you said, and once that was televised?
Yes.
Okay. And how did that come to be? How did it come to be that you were part of that debate?
I was told by Protect Marriage to take part in that debate.
And who told you to do that?
I forgot.
Okay.
I just got a phone call from them.
Okay, let me show you this then. This is TAM Exhibit 7. While Dr. Tam is looking at that document, it's a 4-page document. Again, I guess it is a 4-page document. It's a printout from a website. The top says Prop 8 debate draws ethnic media fans tensions -NAM. And it's from the New America Media website. Is that the debate that you've been discussing, Dr. Tam?
Yes.
Okay. The paragraph there right underneath the picture on the first page, it says pro-Prop 8 panelists argued that, quote, common sense, close quote, dictated that the historic nature of marriage as an institution between a man and a woman could not be expanded to include same-sex couples. They also insisted that children would be harmed because they would be subjected to education on homosexuality in public schools if Prop 8 failed to pass. Do you see that paragraph there?
Yes.
And do you remember yourself advancing those arguments at that particular debate?
I have said something about children were affected if same-sex marriage become legal.
Okay.
But I don't recall using the word harm or something. So
Okay. What do you remember saying on that topic of children and Prop 8?
Are you asking what does he remember saying at this debate?
Well, I was just following up on what he just said. He said, I remember saying something about children, and I just wanted to know what you remembered, what you were referring to right then when you were...
Oh, yeah, I was saying that if same-sex marriage is legalized, then every child can grow up thinking whether he would marry John or Jane when they grow up. And that would cause a lot of problem for the parents. I also mentioned about first grade children being brought to same-sex marriage weddings of their teacher, the 2 lesbians who get married. I thought that was inappropriate. So I was explaining that children would be affected involuntarily if same-sex marriage is legal.
If I could ask the court reporter to mark this, please, as TAM Exhibit 8. Do you remember talking with Mr. McLaughlin of the Mercury News?
Yes, yes.
If you look at the second page of this document, maybe about, not quite halfway down the page, it's got your name there, Bill Tam of San Francisco, a Chinese American who is leading the outreach effort in the Asian American community to pass Proposition 8, conceded that proponents face a tough battle convincing many Asian Americans to vote for the measure. Next paragraph says, gay marriage supporters, quote, have very cleverly portrayed homosexuals as a kind of minority, end quote, Tam said. Restart the quote, they've been very effective in portraying it as a civil rights issue, and this is very much a concern for us, close quote. Do you see that?
Yes.
Do you remember saying that to Mr. McLaughlin?
Yes.
Okay. And why was it, well, first, who is the us in that sentence, in your quotation there?
Oh, Asian Americans.
It's a concern for Asian Americans that they've been very effective in portraying it as a civil rights issue?
Mm-hmm.
You have to, I'm sorry.
The
you have to
people that I know, yeah.
Okay. And why is that a concern?
Because we think that civil right is about skin color. Like me being an Asian, that I cannot change it. That's how I understand the definition of civil right. But my concern is that if homosexuals portray themselves as another minority, then sexual preference can become a minority. That to me is a concern.
If you look a few paragraphs down there, I guess right at the end of this article, right above the line that says contact Ken McLaughlin, it says, quote, we hope to convince Asian Americans that gay marriage will encourage more children to experiment with the gay lifestyle and that the lifestyle comes with all kinds of disease, end quote, Tam said. Do you recall telling Mr. McLaughlin that?
Yes.
And is that in fact a concern that you have, what's stated there?
Yes.
And why are you concerned? Well, let me ask you to explain. What does it mean to you that gay marriage will encourage more children to experiment with the gay lifestyle? What does that mean?
That means now there's an option for children to pick their marriage or to pick their sexual preference. Because that actually happened to me when my daughter told me that her classmates chose to become lesbians and experiment with it after they noticed that same-sex marriage they think is a cool thing. They had some problem with dating with boys or getting dates from boys. So same-sex marriage, once it is in the air, they think that, oh, then why not, try girls? So children did experiment with it. That's what I meant.
And then the second part of that quotation, it says, and that the lifestyle, meaning the gay lifestyle, comes with all kinds of disease. What did you mean when you said that to Mr. McLaughlin?
I mean sexually transmitted diseases. And it's all in the internet.
So is your understanding that the gay lifestyle as opposed to the straight lifestyle comes with more diseases? The gay lifestyle has more diseases than the straight lifestyle?
It's very easy to find reports in the internet that homosexuals do have a higher proportion of their population getting AIDS and syphilis. It's all in the public record than straight.
Dr. Tam, while you're looking at that, I'll just describe it briefly for the record. Exhibit 9, at the top it says newsletter. The banner at the top says Traditional Family Coalition, and then it says newsletter. It's a 2-page document.
Yes.
Do you recognize this?
Yes.
And while you're looking at that document, Dr. Tam, this again at the top says TFC News, Volume 1, Issue 2, March, April 2006. Do you recognize this document, Dr. Tam?
Yes.
And what is this?
TFC newsletter.
And as we discussed with Exhibit 10, would it be fair to say that you had editorial control over this document?
Yes.
Okay. The first article here, it's entitled Traditional Family Coalition in Action, and it begins, on March 3rd, Traditional Family Coalition held a press conference on Christians' view on the movie Brokeback Mountain. Other than Dr. Bill Tam of TFC, Dr. Melvin Wong spoke from a psychologist's viewpoint, and it lists some other people who spoke there. It says they spoke of the role of Brokeback Mountain plays on misleading the public to believe that homosexual affairs are more noble and trouble-free than traditional families. Do you see that?
Yes.
Do you remember participating in such a press conference?
I did. I did participate.
Okay, and did you invite members of the media to attend that press conference? Or you or TFC?
Yes.
Okay, and do you remember whether members of the media did attend that?
Yes, some did.
Okay. Okay. The next paragraph begins, on March 20th, Dr. Tam gave a seminar for San Francisco church leaders on the homosexual movement and how it would affect the family and the church. He gave examples of some Scandinavian countries where homosexuals team up with liberal politicians. They lowered the legal age of sexual consent, legalized same-sex marriage, legalized prostitution, indirectly causing the disrespect of marriage and tremendous increase of the illegitimate birth rate. Similar seminars were also given at some local churches. Do you see that there?
Yes.
And do you remember giving such a seminar?
Yes.
Or actually, I guess such seminars, it refers to more than one. Do you remember about how many seminars were given?
I don't remember the number.
6? I mean, can you give a ballpark?
Let's see. 4, something like that.
Okay. And does that paragraph that I just read into the record, does that accurately reflect the topics of those seminars?
Yes.
Okay. Do you remember approximately the number of people who attended those seminars in total?
It's hard to remember.
Are we talking dozens, hundreds?
Total, you mean?
Correct. Yeah, I think you said 3 seminars that you remember.
Right. That would be maybe a couple hundred.
And I think you mentioned the Chinese Christian Herald earlier this morning. It's a Chinese language newspaper here in the Bay Area, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And do you know what its circulation is?
Well, 30 to 40,000 a month.
Okay.
It's a monthly paper.
Does it have an internet presence as well, or is it just a paper
Yes,
newspaper?
it has internet, yeah.
It has an internet
Yeah.
as well. And do you know whether your columns have been published both in the paper format and online?
Yes,
They have been.
yeah.
And you recently co-authored a book called America Return to God with Reverend Thomas Wang, and that's correct?
Yes.
Okay. And it says you're often interviewed on radio, TV, newspaper, and news conferences in the San Francisco Bay Area. We've discussed some of those appearances, I guess.
Yes.
Can you think, other than the interviews and debates that we've already discussed this morning, can you think of any other media appearances that you participated in with respect to the Proposition 8 campaign, or that involved the Proposition 8 campaign?
There are a few requests from Channel 26, Channel 7 to ask me about Proposition 8, yeah, during the campaign.
Okay, and did those result in interviews?
Some are during, some are after, actually. Yeah.
Okay. And so you took part in those interviews resulting from those contacts, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And I'm sorry, about how many additional interviews are we talking about?
Approximately 5.
Okay. And can you tell me what the subject matter was of those interviews? I mean, in any detail beyond just about Proposition 8?
Mostly about why Prop 8 is necessary, and then about what's the current status of Prop 8, and then why I was involved in it.
Okay.
Something like that. It's informational for
And
the
on
public to know.
I'm sorry. And on the question of why Prop 8 is necessary, what do you remember the arguments that you advanced in those interviews?
Yes, I talk about children. It's the biggest benefit if Prop 8 passes, that they would have both parents as different sexes to be their role models. If same-sex marriage passes, and then if it becomes popular, then those children who get adopted into same-sex families, they don't have two genders as their parents to model after. I talk about, I don't really quite remember that much. It's more than a year now.
While you're looking at that, Dr. Tam, Exhibit 15 is a 2-page document, again, another printout from a website. At the top it says Bill Tam, PhD, and the heading is Articles on Parenting. Underneath that it says the following articles are written in Chinese. Most of them were published by Chinese Christian Herald. And then please click on the link to view, and then it lists a long list of articles. So Dr. Tam, you wrote all these articles that are posted here?
Yes, I did.
Okay, and can you identify which ones were, you say many of them were published in the Chinese Christian Herald. Can you identify which ones were in fact published in the Chinese Christian Herald? Or maybe, since it says most, I mean, maybe it's easier to say which ones were not published in the Chinese Christian Herald, just to be efficient.
On the parenting, I think all of them were published by the newspaper.
Okay, so all of these articles listed here on this exhibit 15?
Yeah, as far as I can remember. And then you see the more articles on the second page, more articles.
Yes.
Some of those, I think, was published in another Christian magazine or something.
For the record, Exhibit 18 is another, it's actually 2 documents together. The first is 4 pages of Chinese characters, and I'll represent again that this was something that we linked through from your website, Dr. Tam. And then the pages following that are a translation that we had done. Dr. Tam, looking only at the first 4 pages of this exhibit, do you recognize that as something you wrote?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And also that you posted to your website?
I don't exactly remember. Maybe, yeah. If you find it there.
Maybe it helps to look back. If we look at Exhibit 15, which would be in your pile of exhibits there in front of you. Do you see any article listed on there that you can tell corresponds with this Exhibit 18?
Yeah, right.
Which one do you
It's
think it
here.
is?
The one about homosexuality.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. And who is Dr. Melvin Wong?
He is a psychologist in the Bay Area.
Is he someone you know?
Yes.
Okay. And you interviewed Dr. Wong, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And is this Exhibit 18 your article about that interview?
Yes.
Okay.